Hi, I'm Crystal Brown. I'm the marketing director at Kingston Gallery. We're going to start our virtual art relay at Boston Sculptors Gallery. So let's start. All right, so I'm at Boston Sculptors Gallery. We're here looking at Margaret Swan's lift. Artist statement. And the majority of the work here is wall sculptures, but she does have a few freestanding sculptures in the middle of the gallery here. I'm just walking backwards so I don't bump into anything. They're all painted aluminum. These three are really interesting. They have like a copper patina look to them. So what I really appreciate about this work is that it has like a architectural quality to it, but it's talking a lot about nature and wind. It's like sails on a boat. So it's playing with almost like the man-made and nature at the same time. Let's go over to this piece. This one's called Midnight Sail. You can really feel that like wind form in it. See the undulating shapes. And what I really like about her sculpture too is you see the shadow work on the walls too play a really important role, I think. You see the shine of the painted aluminum is really interesting as well. Really love that. This one is about my height, actually. So it's kind of interesting to see something referenced to the human size. But talking about architecture too, I think a lot of architecture that we see nowadays is so large and imposing. We've kind of lost a lot of human scale. Second show at Boston Sculptors is Larry Pollin's Forest. So he did a mix of 2D paintings, drawings, and some clay sculpture. So let's take a look around. So these two pieces are kind of an interesting relationship here. I think that was a smart placement of having these two play off each other. It's almost like this piece fell out of this piece. It's easy to create these narratives in these forms. And this is kind of just incidental, but this sculpture is kind of mimicking this, just this pipe that or not pipe, but this pillar that's just part of the gallery. I always love how pieces can kind of be site specific. Of course, I'm not sure if he maybe made that on purpose, but sometimes that stuff just happens. This piece is called Nesting. It's really interesting. The iPad is not really picking up all the colors that are in it. So I'm sorry about that. I find that the sculptures are almost like the 3D forms of what are in these drawings. This is called Garden.
Excuse me, I didn't need that. Are you kidding me? Where did you see that?
That's almost like an artifact quality, rather than something that's been made recently. It's really interesting. I also feel like pigments on the clay mimic the pigments on the 2D pieces. I feel like they're rubbed on. These are pastels. These almost look like, I mean, I know they're not, but they feel like they're pastel. Just the quality of what the pigments look like on the clay. I have to know the process more. That's really interesting. It just says terracotta. This is called Waking. Huh. Has a more like primordial feel to it.
One of Boston's most underground galleries, Beacon Gallery. How exciting. I can't wait to see what they're showing today. Here I am at Beacon Gallery, and oh my gosh, they've got some pretty cool stuff here. What I'm really curious about is this is the same image twice. Rosa Leff has done a paper cut. That's what her medium is. And Howard Feynman is a photographer. Here's his photograph, and here's her paper cut. How did this come about, Christine?
I put this together, so this is a 4-artist show, and this is one of my favorite pieces by Howard Feynman, and I suggested that Rosa, who works off of photographs to create her paper cuts, actually do this work with Howard.
So what we're seeing here at Beacon Gallery is 4 individual artists being shown. And this is Michael McLaughlin, and he is a local Peabody artist. So we get some real opportunity to see this piece. Oh my gosh. You have to come in and see this piece in person. The dimension and quality of this piece is really quite exciting. It just jumps off the canvas. This is another of Howard Feynman's cool photographs. And what I really find exciting is the way that Christine has put these shows together. Look at how the color picks up in this painting by Sam Belisle. This is really delightful. Another Sam Belisle painting. They're so authentic to the life and moment that we're facing. So a total of 4 artists shown pretty deeply. Some really fine photographs here, again from Howard Feynman. I hope if you don't get to do First Friday, at least you're enjoying these pictures, but you should try to get a chance to reach out to Beacon Gallery and try to get an opportunity. This is another of Rosa Leff's paper cuts. Quite stunning. And this is other of Michael's paintings. Michael McLaughlin. And there's all kinds of parts and pieces to these. So there's a beautiful, fairly realistic sensibility painting. And then we've got this 3D collage that just really jars you. One of my delights about going into Beacon Gallery is when you see the care and the eye that Christine brings to her selections. You can see here, these 2 pieces have a great relationship to each other, and yet are each unique in their own materiality and vision for what they're trying to accomplish. And then you just swing around here, and there you go again. Wow. This is a show worth seeing, as all the shows are that show up at Beacon Gallery.
Christine O'Donnell here, of Beacon Gallery, and I am arriving at Fountain Street. Looks like they're missing the F. Ooh. Let's go have a look. Check out their new show. Fragments of Time, Rebecca Skinner and David Denona. Love how colorful it is. Look at all these. David Denon's work takes multiple photographs and makes stories and composite images, from what I understand. You can see that here. You see ghosts of people, all these little bits and pieces of different pictures. Love, zoomed in and zoomed out. Bits of the work or inside the car or out of the car. And then look at the headlight and you can see the people again. How cool is that? It's just a shot of the gallery. Let's go look over here. We have a series of sinks here in Rebecca Skinner. There are photographs on aluminum. I love the reflection on them. I work with abandoned buildings. I've always found very compelling I love the colors. The way the paint is always peeling in them. Very empty spaces, but yet have so much personality. I wonder if these works could be done separately, or if they need to go together. Works that make me ask questions are always really fun. And look, here's works that are here printed in one way and then on paper as well. Oh, look at this. I love this little tiny piano in the corner. How fun and interesting. I wonder where Rebecca goes to find all these abandoned places. I want to go with her on one of her adventures. I used to like to creep around when I lived in Singapore. Go find abandoned buildings. The problem was always that there might have been snakes in them. I feel like you could just walk right into this one. How amazing is that? The different layers. Wow. Absolutely gorgeous. That she's able to both capture in black and white and in color. Very cool. Before we see the second area, the second little show happening, let's just have a look back at this whole space. Gorgeous. Here. These I was not expecting. I love this. Well, these I've not read up on, so anyone who comes in and sees them is going to have to learn more for themselves. The work by Miller Oakey. These pieces also caught my eye. There's a whole wall of them. Amazing. Let's go have a closer look at one of them by Justin Life. Scratchboard and acrylic paint on panel. That's what gives it so much texture. Fascinating. We have another really interesting piece of bone. And then Dennis Stein's trees. Look at the detail in this one. Beautiful. Thanks to all of you for coming along on this little journey with me. See you soon.
Hi everybody, my name is Tatiana. I'm the Assistant Director of Fountain Street Gallery, and I find myself today in Galatea Fine Art, and I'm going to take you around the exhibit today and see what we can find. So the show that's being on right now is Heroes and Villains. It's a collaboration with the Galatea Fine Art artists and artists from Spoke Cushing House. Each were given a prompt of the heroes and villains and interpreting that. And there's these dolls that were made from the Cushing spoke. Love the relationship of the colors in these. So the curator ended up taking the work and creating these beautiful relationships between the two different types of work in the entire space. I'm enjoying the relationship of the figure in these. It's an interesting way of looking at the prompt of heroes and villains, the stories.
adds such a deeper understanding of the dolls made. Great view of how the work plays off of each other. Let's see what this one is. Wow. Definitely being in the presence of it. It has this great, powerful feeling. What's this? I'm always drawn to those small pieces that are in the corner, that are subtle and fragile. One of the things that I love doing during First Friday Art Walks is just coming into the spaces before they open too, and getting your own private viewing and finding out new things around every corner. Patterning, color, all very strong within this exhibit and within that prompt. When I think of heroes and villains, I think you would as well, as you come up with different colors that have action to them. This quilted piece is really speaking to me with the way the patterning is within the beautiful textures from the stitching to the figurative elements implied and the landscape and the use of the color. This is called Social Distance. Beautiful work. This beautiful piece as well. One last peek. Before I hand this off to the next stop of the art relay of this January SoWa First Friday Walk. I hope you guys enjoyed Galatea as much as I did. Definitely make a point to come out and see what you find within these heroes and villains and what speaks to you. Last work before you leave this Galatea Fine Art is always look behind the desk. There's always something little beautiful and a snippet that always just leaves you wanting more.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Letvin. I'm a member of Galatea Fine Art, and I've just walked into Kingston Gallery to see their show, and I'd like to share it with you. I've just walked into Kingston Gallery, and there are two shows going on here. One by Judith Brassard Brown, and the other is by Mary Lane, a photographer. Judith is a painter, and one of the interesting things about her landscape work is that it seems that even though many of these pieces were done before the COVID pandemic started, she seems to have captured this kind of environment where our world is exploding or just kind of rumbling up from beneath and showing energy that was channeled from COVID and the environment. The paintings are beautiful in their construction and their painterliness. The paint is thick and it's got a lot of luminosity, even though some of them are very, very dark. I think it would be a really fun exercise to see if you could come and guess which ones were done before COVID and which ones were done after. In addition to the landscapes, she's got 2 portraits included in the show. One is a self-portrait, and one is a collaborative piece that she did with the poet Natasha Ginyard, who is a Black female activist. The portraits are really beautiful and rich, and in particular, the self-portrait is very gestural, and the skin tones and the hair just come alive when you look at them, and you see the textures and the light just bouncing off cheeks and forehead. Just beautiful mark making. Natasha is Judith's daughter-in-law, so the collaboration was a family affair. The colors change when you leave the first large room and go into the second room, where the colors become very playful and almost kind of like what you'd want a vacation to linger in your soul about. They're really lovely, lovely colors, lovely little spots of colors in the tiny little pieces, and more kind of a mix of the abstract landscape and then some a little bit more rendered with the stylized trees and some buildings even in a cityscape that right in the center. It's a real interesting sort of menagerie of imagery. The way the little one is luminous with the orange next to this big piece of blue is really pretty neat when you see these colors together. And then you transition again back to the darkness and the kind of the turmoil and the channeling of this tumultuous energy. And she finally ends up here with what is reminiscent of a Klimt painting. The one that's at the Harvard Art Museums in the first, I think it's the first gallery with the shimmery trees that he painted. That is like this giant texture with what I see is tree trunks at the bottom. They could actually even be buildings. And then when you pull back, you can see a face in the sky if you look hard enough. And the final painting she has here in this room is a father holding up a hose or a snake, is it, to maybe his son, maybe a grandson who has a little sword in his hands. And we have no idea what the exchange is about, but their faces look benevolent, but they're holding on to malevolent things. If it is a snake, it looks snaky to me. It looks kind of bloody. And it just pulls you in all different directions emotionally. And then we go into the back small gallery that Mary Lang has for her small moments of sad joy photos. When I first looked at this collection, I had this incredible feeling of nostalgia about my summers and my life growing up in Pennsylvania. That's not where any of these things are, but they're very specific and very general at the same time. So they're really lovely, and they are small moments of sad joy. The nostalgia is feeling, to me, is a sadness and a joy that reminiscing of personal experience that happened long ago. And there's tiny little moments in each of these that she's magically identified them, like a hose over the edge of a deck. For gosh sakes, who would ever think of taking a photograph of that? And how much emotion there is in that, and what you bring to the photographs. They each become individual journeys based on your memory. I mean, I know I sat in that pool when I was 4. And I want to get in that sprinkler right now. That's what I want to experience in the summer in my backyard. It's hard to see in this picture, but there's a tiny little squirrel crossing that sidewalk. Tremendous little nature encounter moment. And if you love animals, you love that picture because of that. And I know I was quite the voyeur when I was young, and I would run around the neighborhood at night looking into my neighbors' windows. And that's what that reminds me of. A summer night, being alone, out by myself, looking in people's windows and having a great time, wondering what I was going to see. Was I going to see anything good? This show brings a lot of joy to me, and a lot of memories, and a lot of poignant sort of melancholy, which is exactly what I think she wanted us to feel when we looked at these pictures. She's incredibly successful. so glad I got the opportunity to come to Kingston Gallery and talk to you about what I see when I look at these two artists' work. It's been a wonderful way to spend the first Friday. Thank you for coming along with me.